What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. It's Jesse. Alright, guys. At the end of this video, we have two special announcements. So you guys can tell already by one. That could be a hint. Guys, we have two special announcements coming at the end of this video, guys. So just stay tuned. Alright, guys. But today we'll be doing a reaction video to MJV. It says Studios again, right? That's it? I'll tell you one, guys. I'm sorry. MJV Animations, guys. Sorry. Guys, sorry for the lack of uploads again, guys. We have been busy, like very busy, but it's worth it, guys. So I told you guys at the end of this video, you don't wanna miss it. Alright, guys. So the rename. So that's not the name of the video. It's called 3 True Haunted House Horror Stories Animated. Alright, guys. So just sit back, relax, and just enjoy. Let's get to it.
In my freshman year of college, I visited home a week before Halloween. The county fair was in town, so one night I took my little sister and two friends who were in middle school. The fair was fall and Halloween themed, so there was a haunted house. I had been to the fair a bunch of times, but I had never been allowed to go in there. Naturally, I tried to convince my little sister and her friends to go through it with me. They were too scared by all the bloody, psycho
not scared. You usually have to ask them.
So I had to go along with them on all the same boring rides until eventually they got hungry. I was the only one with money, so I was able to convince them to go through the haunted house with me by promising to buy them all whatever food they wanted afterwards. We got in line together, and I was immediately feeling the unsettling vibes of the haunted house. I couldn't help but feel like all the scare actors were staring at me, but my little sister and her friends were already terrified, so I hid the fact that I was uncomfortable. It took us about 20 minutes of waiting for everyone to go in one by one, but then, when we reached the front, the girls wanted to back out. However, I managed to make a deal with the girl that was letting people through that I would go in first and then come back around to prove it was okay, and whoever was behind them could go through ahead of them until they were ready. After settling things, I entered the haunted house alone, finding myself lost in a dark, claustrophobic maze of narrow hallways filled with fake smoke. The only lighting came from the obvious spots where some guy with a chainsaw or machete would jump out. I got scared once,
chainsaw is crazy, bro.
But it wasn't that bad as the actors would usher me forward right after. Then, as I was going down the longest stretch of hallway, I was suddenly shoved from my right. I was caught off guard and tumbled to my left, collapsing to the floor just as a door slammed shut. I was sealed off in total darkness. I wasn't sure if this was still part of the experience, so I quietly asked if anyone was there. A voice that sounded like an old woman asked in reply, "Can I borrow your shirt?" I freaked out and instantly got back on my feet. I reached for my phone to use the flashlight, but when I looked around, I realized I was in a tiny storage room filled with nothing but mannequins. They were all pointed to look at me in the center of the room, and half of them were wearing costumes like the scare actors, while the rest were completely bare. I couldn't see the exit or the woman, so I shouted at her to show herself. That's when she said, audibly smiling, "Check your eyes, dear. I'm right here." I snapped around to look at where the voice came from. She stood among the mannequins, as pale as their plastic skin, but wrinkled.
Nah, bro. I'll run out of there.
She wore nothing on the top half of her body but a lacy red bra. I asked her who she was. As I was speaking to her, the door behind me quickly opened and shut again. I turned around again to look in that direction, unable to see anything as the woman kept talking to me.
Too loud, so
she
let's
said,
turn down a little bit.
"My son says I should cover up because I'm too old, but you, on the other hand." I knew I was no longer alone in the room with this woman. There
Hey,
could
what's
have
up,
been
bro?
any number of people lurking behind the mannequins, but my phone's flashlight was too useless to reveal them no matter how much I spun around looking. Finally, however, I was able to find the door I had fallen through. Just as I heard the first footsteps around me, I screamed and ran for it. I managed to get the door open with my
Ever?
left
He's
hand,
screaming in
but somebody
pure
grabbed
fear.
my other wrist and started to pry my phone away. I turned to them and kicked as hard as I could. They staggered back, but in my rush to claw my way out through the door, I dropped my phone. I didn't have time to care.
Whoa.
I just ran. Right
I
outside
would
the
have,
door,
like,
I
my
collided
phone.
straight into someone. We scared the shit out of
Yeah,
each other.
wait,
before I
wait.
realized he was just a regular person going through the haunted house. But I didn't linger. I shoved him out of the way and started sprinting back to the front. The
The
actors
camera
kept yelling at me
is
to
so
stop
scared.
going the wrong way, but I ignored them all. Finally, I came out the front entrance and started yelling at the attendant that something was horribly wrong. Sadly, she just looked at me like I was crazy. I realized everyone was
Like,
gawking at me,
security?
trying to hold back their laughter as they thought I'd gone hysterical after getting scared by the haunted house. Then, I noticed my sister and her friends were gone. I shook the attendant until she told me that one of the actors had scared them off. Then I went looking for them frantically. I was scared to death they had been
Yeah, bro.
grabbed by the same people, but then I found them at a food truck. I asked them what they were
Okay.
doing there, and they said the man inside was giving them free churros. I could tell by the smile on that creepy old sicko's face that there was something sinister going on with him, too. So I ripped them all away
Yeah, bro.
and took them home. They complained the whole way, but I wasn't going to risk being there for another second. To this day, nobody fully believes me when I tell them what happened that night. Even I sometimes catch myself wondering if the whole thing really happened the way I remember it. But I know better. That fair group is full of creeps who come to town to prey on women and girls, like that perverted old woman and her psychotic son, and that man in the food truck luring them in with free treats. The rest of the employees are just enablers who work to isolate the victims and turn a blind eye to what happens to them.
Yeah, guys, that was a crazy one, guys. That was damn. I'm probably scared. I'll probably never go into a haunted house ever again. I've never been to one. No, I've not been to one. I don't think I have. I've been to a fair, but never a haunted house. I do want to go to one though. It seems pretty cool. Alright, let's get to the next one.
Life is truly filled with horror stories. These traumatic events leave many people with severe and life-altering
What is it?
injuries,
Is it that?
but even after the trauma, the struggle isn't over. Have you ever thought about what you would do after you got injured? If you had medical bills to pay but no ability to work? How would you know that your insurance companies or the people responsible for your injuries are being fair to you? Then, trying to navigate the situation with traditional law firms can be a daunting, confusing
that's
ordeal
possible.
that brings even more pain. The piles of paperwork, the hours of your valuable time used up, and the expensive fees hitting you while you're already down. With Morgan & Morgan, America's largest
Morgan &
injury
Morgan,
law
guys.
firm, that won't be a problem. When you're seriously hurt, your injury could be worth millions. Morgan & Morgan don't accept lowball settlements from insurance companies. In recent months, they've achieved massive victories for victims of serious car crashes.
really?
In Florida, they achieved a verdict for $12 million, which was 34 times greater than the highest insurance offer.
40 times
In
higher.
Philadelphia,
40
they achieved
times.
a verdict for
That
a
is
$26
crazy.
million payout, 40 times more than the highest settlement offered by the insurance company.
25 billion.
Morgan & Morgan
I'm
will
gonna
fight
need
for
that.
you to get the best outcome if you become their client. If you hire Morgan & Morgan, you won't just be assigned a single lawyer, but an entire dedicated legal team with lawyers, case investigators, paralegals, and customer care specialists, all working to maximize your settlement.
How long is
On top of that, there are thousands of support staff available at all hours to help you with any questions or concerns about your case, making the experience as painless
fee is
as
free.
possible. The best part
Only
is,
if
you don't pay them a
only
penny
if you
unless you
win.
win your case. And Morgan & Morgan didn't become the largest injury law firm for no reason. It's because they win a lot. Even better, they've modernized the injury law process, so it only takes minutes to see if you have a case, and you can submit your claim on your phone. If you ever get seriously injured, your case could be worth millions, and you're only a few clicks away from potentially changing your life. It's easy. You can start your claim with Morgan & Morgan at www.forthepeople.com/MJV, found in the description below, or by scanning the QR code on screen with your phone's camera. You can type in your name, phone number, zip code, and email address, select the type of your claim, then describe what happened. Click or tap Start Your Claim, and you're done. Remember, Morgan & Morgan is the largest injury law firm in the United States, so they have all the resources and know-how to see your case through. There's no company too big for Morgan & Morgan to fight, and they'll fight for you to get the settlement you deserve if you become their client.
I get into the next one, guys. Come on.
When I was a freshman in college, I was still living in my rather small hometown. I hadn't decided on my major, but my passion was in theater. However, the school didn't have much of a theater program, and outside of that, there were few, if any, acting opportunities in town. Then, one day, I saw a flyer calling for volunteer scare actors for the haunted house at the upcoming fall festival. Obviously, I jumped on the opportunity, even though it wasn't a paid gig. In the weeks prior, I went out to rehearse my role. It was a super low-budget operation inside a small warehouse, and the entire haunted house was a set put together with paper-thin walls. I was meant to be a vampire, but unfortunately, not a genuinely scary-looking one, but a classic Dracula-style vampire. I was supposed to jump out at people from my hiding spot, do some vampiric hissing and screaming while baring my vampire teeth, then reset for the next group. It felt really cheesy, and I didn't expect it to scare anyone over the age of 10. But with the makeup and prosthetics, I was sure nobody would recognize me, so I decided to go all out. On the night of the festival, the crowd was a lot bigger than I expected, so I knew I was in for a long night. Inside the haunted house, people were coming every 30 seconds, non-stop for hours. A lot of them weren't that scared by me, but most people were startled at least. Some did act genuinely afraid. However, others just laughed at me. None were worse than these two douchebags I saw about halfway through the night. They seemed about my age, but they were piss drunk. They laughed at me hysterically when I jumped out at them, but it got much worse than that. I was about to retreat into my hiding spot when one of them recognized me and called me by my name. That's when I realized they went to my school. I tried to play it off in character and say there was nobody there by that name. That only made them laugh even harder. I had to break character and ask them to move on, so the next group didn't run into them. But as soon as I got serious with them, their attitudes changed instantly. They started stepping towards me, raising their voices and threatening to kick my ass if I ever told them what to do again. I tried to apologize and explain why I asked them to move, but that didn't go over well either. These guys started to criticize me for wanting to be an actor, making extremely homophobic remarks about the types of men that wanted to be in theater. They were seriously pissing me off, and when I saw the next group of people walking towards us, I finally had enough. I yelled at them to leave or they would be removed, but they only listened because there were other people watching. They walked off, staring daggers at me and talking shit under their breath, but at least they were gone. The rest of the night went along after that, and it was very busy the entire time. By the time it was over, my voice was completely shot from the hours of constant hissing and screaming. Then, at last, I heard that we were getting our final guests of the night. I listened for their approach, but it was eerily quiet. The other actors were completely failing to get a reaction. I found out why when I heard them getting close to me. Then I jumped out and screamed one last time. I froze when I saw the same two assholes from before standing in front of me. This time, they were so drunk they couldn't even stand up straight, and they were grinning with pure evil joy. The one on the left pulled a stick out from his waistband. It had been sharpened to a point like a wooden stake. He said to me that they had to come back properly armed to kill a vampire. Then he looked to his buddy and asked if he was supposed to put it through my heart, but the other one shook his head and said it should go in much, much lower. The one with the stake said that was disgusting, but if that's
No,
what
they were awesome.
vampires wanted, then that's what he would do. He tried to step back and say something, but I didn't even get a chance before they lunged at me. One of them got me in a headlock and covered my
They
mouth
were?
while the other dragged me by my legs into my hiding spot. They drew the curtain and took me to the ground as I tried to fight back,
Every guy
but
kick
I
and do
couldn't
everything,
break
bro.
free or even make a sound. All I could do was try to kick them away as the one with the stake tried to rip off my costume. He told the other one to squeeze my neck tighter so I would stop fighting, and I immediately felt the pressure cutting off the circulation to my brain. My legs flailed as I looked at these two monsters just waiting for me to pass out. But then in my struggle, my foot bumped into the wall. I heard the hollow sound and remembered how thin they were. So I turned my leg to the side and kicked straight through it. They tried to grab my legs and stop me, but by then, the next actor had already seen what was happening.
Bro.
They started calling for help as my attackers tried to escape, but they were caught trying to leave the building.
The police came.
Soon after, the cops at the festival arrived. I expected those
Now what the
animals to
heck?
be arrested, but the cops just let them go.
Nah, El
saying it
Cops,
was
bro.
only a practical
No, they
Halloween
is
show,
hella El
as
Cops.
if
What
I
the
was
heck?
being dramatic about what those monsters were trying to do to me. I see these two at school almost every day now, and they're always smiling at me like psychopaths. They know they got away with it, and they know they could do it again if they wanted to. Before they get another chance, I'll be getting the hell out of there. My original plan was to get my bachelor's degree at home, but as soon as I get an associate's degree, I'm transferring
Damn.
so I'll never have to see their faces again.
Alright, so, first of all, it's hella El Cops. That was the most wackest thing ever. That was a practical prank now. What? That was hella whack. that was whack. And this is the last one, guys.
I was 19 when I broke up with my boyfriend of 3 years.
He's
He was
familiar.
abusive during our entire relationship. And when I
just look
finally
like the
managed to
mummy.
end
Nah, I
things,
don't-
he left me
The
traumatized
guy
and took
comes back
all
like
my
writing in
friends
the
with
book.
him.
With
In
the
my
picture, I'll
freshman
put it
year
right
of
here, guys.
college, I got in with an entirely new group of friends who didn't have any connections with my ex to my knowledge. At the start of our sophomore year, one of my new friends got their first apartment. Once we were settled in for the new semester, they finally planned their housewarming party in mid-October. By then, the local amusement park had started their annual Halloween event, so they had everyone get tickets to it for the day after the party. In fact, the entire party was Halloween themed, which I absolutely hated. I had always been easy to scare, especially while still recovering from years of abuse, so I was the opposite of thrilled when they put on a horror movie. I had to sit through the entire thing while basically hiding under a blanket. Unfortunately, when that one was finished, they put on another. I tried to convince everyone to watch something else, but it seemed like nobody wanted to listen to me. So, I figured I only had one option to get through the night. Drink ahead of everyone else
No,
until I
just
was
go home.
drunk enough to
Oh,
pass
I
out on the
probably
couch. It worked, but my nightmares were filled with demons and murderers trying to kill
man.
me and torture me. Then, I woke up with the worst hangover of my life. My head was pounding. I was nauseous, anxious, throwing up and sweating out all the water I tried to drink. My friends just let me suffer through it, but they also dragged me out to a diner for
Bro,
a
I don't
late
know,
breakfast.
but no, bro.
The
I
smell
just
of
want
their
to stay home.
food was enough to make me gag, so unsurprisingly, I wasn't able to get anything down. At this point, I was dreading the Halloween event, but I couldn't find a way to tell anyone I didn't want to go, especially because someone else had paid for my ticket. I
Bro,
felt
just
like
you
I
know
was
that- no,
forced
bro,
into
I
the
won't
park
stay
that
home.
night. Then, before we could even get in line for a haunted house, some psycho with a chainsaw ran up on us. We all screamed, but everyone else was quickly laughing it off while I was still fighting off a panic attack. Unfortunately, things didn't get better in the relative safety of the line into the first haunted house. I started catching glimpses of someone, like I was being haunted. I kept seeing my ex-boyfriend in the park, peeking around corners and standing among moving crowds of people. Whenever I went to look at him, he disappeared. One of my friends noticed that I was still freaking, so when they said something, I asked them if they had seen my ex around. They just laughed and
Bro,
said that was
cat.
ridiculous. Something
Right,
about
bro.
the way she said it didn't sit
He was there,
right with
though.
me, but I couldn't be sure of anything. We
That
were
red scarf,
approaching the
though.
front of the line rapidly, and before I knew it, the 5 of us were plunged into the horrors of the haunted house. Freaks
kind of
were
costume is
jumping
that?
out at us left and right, screaming about killing us and ripping us apart. I stayed in the middle of the group and looked down at the ground the entire time. Eventually, we entered a small metal room. There was blood everywhere and a torture chair in the middle, guarded by a masked man holding a circular bone saw. Instead of chasing after us, he started talking, only to ask which one of us we would like to see cut open. I could barely comprehend what was happening before I heard giggling. Then the girls
Oh,
behind me
friends, bro.
pushed me to the front. I stumbled straight into the masked freak as he revved the saw in my face. I screamed and ran away, but I was trapped in the room with them. I backed myself into a corner, begging for them to stop, but then I felt something familiar. A hand laid across my shoulder and squeezed. I looked back to see my ex-boyfriend standing behind me. He was smiling as he reached to put his arms around me.
What the heck?
I fell to the ground instantly, scrambling back toward the group as I screamed at the top of my lungs
Hey, nobody saw
pointed to
this?
the corner. Everyone just looked at me like I was insane.
What the heck? I
said
didn't know one
nobody
not
was there.
saw that.
I thought they were screwing with me, but when I looked again, he was gone. I heard everyone start to laugh, but I noticed an emergency exit and ran away. I got let out into some random part of the park.
That's
I
camera.
found
I
a
didn't know
small
one
alley
not.
to hide in. My friends were blowing up my phone,
Did not see
laughing and
what
asking if I was schizophrenic or something. I ignored them all and called my mom to pick me up and take me home. That night, I had the same horrible nightmares as the previous night, only this time, all my new friends were watching me scream for help,
Hey, you gotta get new
just
friends.
standing there laughing at me. At one point in my nightmares, I was killed. My eyes shot open, but I couldn't move. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe either. All I could see was my ex-boyfriend crawling through my bedroom window. I finally caught my breath and screamed as loud as I could. The next thing I remember is my dad bursting into the room, but my ex was gone. The window was only open by an inch. I don't know if I blacked out from fear and didn't remember him leaving, or
Damn.
if it was just another nightmare. It's been a few months, and I don't associate with any of those people anymore. However, I still wonder
I
what
don't know,
really
man.
happened. To be honest, I don't know if they actually set me up like that, or if I just let them stress me out to the point that I had a mental breakdown. One thing that's strange to me is that my ex had been persistently trying to reach out to me for months, but then he stopped that same night. All I know is I won't let people treat me like that
Yeah.
anymore, and I won't go into another haunted house for the
Alright,
rest
that was
of
the
my
last
life.
one, guys. I guess that was a pretty good video. That was such an L, friends. I still am mad about the cop. That was a whack. They were the cops. Alright, guys. We're gonna make a cut right here, and the next thing will be the special announcement, guys.
So I just came back from work, so the special announcement is we got a new house.
Yes, guys, we got some new house, guys. So we're making a lot of more good content.
Yep.
And then the second one is
We're going to Govan March 2nd.
maybe.
Oh, see, I'm sorry, guys. May 2nd. Thanks to you guys that got us to 300 subscribers. Now we're at 306. Thank you for the support, guys.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, so Govan, Washington, May 2nd. The video might be dropped May 4th. We'll see, guys. Stay tuned. And that's it for today.
Yeah, that's
Alright.
it for today.
That's it, guys. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Peace out, guys.
Peace out, guys.